Hey, what's up everybody? It's me, DJ Carboy, back for another video, and today I'm going to be doing another NFL mock draft for you guys today. It's been a hot minute since I've done one. It's been a few weeks, and like I kind of predicted then, I knew that the draft order would change up a bit. And how long has it been since I've done that mock draft? That was 3 weeks ago. And at that point, the Panthers were at pick number 6, and Jacksonville, I know as well. Jacksonville was right behind them at number 7. So both my favorite teams' positions changed a lot. Carolina, I mean, not as much as I might say, and this is thankfully before the everything that's happened today. Carolina, now time to focus on the draft. I'm happy, especially with how C.J. Stroud played yesterday. C.J. Stroud played amazing yesterday. He threw dimes. He threw dimes, and I think Carolina, if I'm Carolina, I need to go all out for him. And if that means having to get rid of some draft capital to trade up to number 4, because I don't think Seattle's going to take C.J. Stroud. I hope they don't, because that would mean that we would have to trade up in front of Indy to get Will Levis. And I still don't think, I think Seattle more, they're going to stick with Geno, and they're going to go for Jalen Carter or Will Anderson, whichever one of them is left. This one, as it says in the title, is going to be with trades. And today, yeah, I'm going to be doing a mock draft, my mock draft 3.0, I think, because I think I've done a couple other ones. Not sure how many other, I know one other one at least, which is the one that I did a couple weeks ago when both my teams were in the top 10. But yeah, so let's get started here. Let's click start. Let's get into this. So with the Texans, I'm going to go, it's obvious, Bryce Young. I don't think C.J. Stroud has played himself to be the number one guy now, even though he played amazing yesterday. Maybe not amazing, but he played great yesterday. I think his stock is up. I think he's now for sure the number 2 QB. Maybe some teams do see him as the number 3 still, with like the tangibles that Will Levis has and the abilities that he has. And I think that Bryce Young is for sure the solid number 1 quarterback, unless the Texans see otherwise. But now on to Chicago. Chicago, I'm gonna go Will Anderson here. Gets them at edge rusher. They need that defender. It's obvious that they're either going Will Anderson or Jalen Carter, or they could even trade back. This could be a spot where you could maybe see the Panthers also trade up to. I mean, I see them not trading up to there because I think now Seattle goes Jalen Carter, and basically, I mean, there you could see if they were to trade back, I would see them maybe going like a Quentin Johnston or an offensive weapon to help Justin Fields, because Justin Fields is obviously, he's shown out this year a little bit. I mean, mostly in the run game, with his running ability kind of being like a Lamar 2.0, but I think you got to help him out, but you also got to help your defense out. And now, obviously, Jalen Carter to Seattle. I see them going Jalen Carter or Will Anderson, whichever one isn't picked by the Bears. And I think that now that gets them that interior guy. They need help on the defensive line more than they need C.J. Stroud, because Geno Smith, as long as he plays good next year too, if they re-sign him and bring him back, he can be your guy of right now and maybe a little bit of the future, not too much. But now on to Arizona. Here is where I'm going to do my first trade. Now I'm going to do, so it's going to be the Carolina and Arizona. Okay, there we go. Okay, that was weird. I don't know why I had Arizona. So here, I'm going to do Arizona, pick 4, pick 1, or pick 8, pick the second round pick for the Carolina Panthers, pick 59. That is from the San Francisco trade, the Christian McCaffrey trade. And then I'm going to throw in a 5th rounder. I'm going to throw in frick do you remove that? Let me do this. For some reason you can't remove. But yeah, and then does kind of, why the hell can you not remove by clicking on him again? Anyways, I'm gonna do this one where it's the second rounder, and the fifth rounder from the Panthers. Now, yes, maybe the fourth rounder would be better because you're going from 8 to 4, but that's also not too bad. That's only 4 spots. That's not actually that big of a jump, so that I feel like that is a little bit fair. And if Carolina does end up moving up a bit, because at this point, with everything that happened, the draft order up here isn't going to change after the results from today. Houston's, I think, almost a complete lock at number 1. Chicago's number 2. Denver is here, but it's the Seattle pick because they traded it to them. Arizona's most likely going to be here unless they win the last week, which then Indy would, I believe, hop up. And then, so actually, in a way, I hope Arizona doesn't win in the last week because then Indy stays at 5, and I hope Indy wins because then maybe they go back. But I believe the Rams lost today. I didn't check. The last time I saw it was 24-10 Chargers. So I think this pick is still here. Atlanta, they moved up to pick 6. The Lions did with that pick, and Atlanta's now just 1 in front of Carolina at pick 8, I believe. But enough with that. I'm going CJ Stroud. I think now, after yesterday's performance from CJ Stroud, I didn't necessarily hope that Carolina lost, but in a way I did because Carolina, if we go CJ Stroud, whether we have to trade up or he falls into our laps, I think Carolina needs to get CJ Stroud. He can be your QB of the future. You're not going to get Bryce Young unless it's a flip where Bryce Young is still available. I think you need to get CJ Stroud if he's still there at 4. If he's there at 4, or even if he's not, if Will Levis is the next one up, you got to trade in front of Indy, even though he might not be worth that 4th overall pick. I think you need to jump Indy for CJ Stroud or Will Levis. I think both of them will be there at 4 with this current draft order, but I think you need to do a trade with Arizona, do whatever you can to get CJ Stroud because I want CJ Stroud. Will Levis is good too. I think he can be a decent quarterback in the NFL, but I think you got to go and get CJ Stroud. Now here with Indy, obvious pick, Will Levis. CJ Stroud taken right before you. Good move by the Carolina Panthers. I feel like it's a realistic one too that they should probably do to try to get CJ Stroud. Because Sam Darnold didn't play bad today. He didn't play bad. He actually played really good. But the thing is he's not the for sure QB of the future. So I feel you have to go up as Carolina and get that pick or get that quarterback. So then you get your QB of the future who can even start for you next year and probably do decent. But then also you could, if they don't go QB and let's say Myles Murphy drops to them and they don't move up and they're at 8 and Myles Murphy's there, go Myles Murphy. I mean, you can go on ahead with Sam Darnold or even take Anthony Richardson or wait to get a QB next year. But I personally would be fine with them, and I'd almost prefer them to go CJ Stroud. But yeah, Will Levis here, obvious pick. Indianapolis needs that QB. On to Atlanta. Atlanta, I think I'm gonna go Tyree Wilson. I'm going to go Tyree Wilson before Myles Murphy. I think this is a good pick. I think it's a good pick for them because he's a guy who can be, he's a very versatile, athletic guy, kind of like Trayvon Walker. And he's kind of a guy that I can see Atlanta taking. I don't know why, I just have a feeling that he's a guy that Atlanta would take. Now, on to Detroit. Detroit here, I think you could see them going Myles Murphy. Because then you would have that guy across from Aiden Hutchinson. You would have your 2 edge rushers of the future. But I'm going to go Kelee Ringo. give you that, or get him the best cornerback in this class, and Kelee Ringo. I think he's a very good cornerback. He's going to be a very good cornerback for Detroit. He gives you that guy across from Jeff Okudah, who can be for sure that number 1 or that number 2 guy next to Jeff Okudah. And yeah. Now on to Arizona. Arizona moving back. I could see this being a real possibility, even if you move back too with Carolina. If you feel like you might not get Myles Murphy might be taken here, and then you can still get Tyree Wilson. But here they still get Myles Murphy, the guy who I was going to take with them anyways, at number 4, and you still get him at number 8. So you get your edge rusher, you get your guy to replace J.J. Watt, and yeah, on to Las Vegas. Las Vegas, I think here is a position where you could see, I'm going to go Peter Skoronski because I think they need that O-lineman. Their O-line hasn't been that good this year, and he gives you a guy who can come in and he can be a guard, either of the guards, he can be either of the tackles, and maybe even a center. I mean, he can play almost every single position on the O-line, and he can come in and do that right away. Philly, I think here you got to go. I'm going to go Christian Gonzalez. I think with Philly, no matter what you get, if you go Joey Porter or Christian Gonzalez, you can get a guy who can possibly be that solid cornerback of the future. He can come in and be that guy to come in for James Bradbury if they don't re-sign him. And Darius Slay's getting a little bit up there in age, but he can come in right away and be that guy. He can come in and help be that second kind of guy. He can be mentored by Darius Slay a little bit. And yeah, Texans, easy pick. Quentin Johnson, I mean, you could see them go Jordan Addison, give them a deep threat, but he's very similar to Brandon Cooks, and if Brandon Cooks decides to stay and want to play with this team in the long haul, I think Quentin Johnson's a very good player for you. I mean, he's a guy who can go up, be a jump ball receiver for you, and he can also, he's quick. He's quick like the smaller receivers. That's the thing. He's so athletic and he's so good. That's why he's the number 1 receiver, and personally probably my favorite receiver. And I'm kind of upset that Jacksonville can't get him, because Jacksonville, I feel like, really only needs receiver wise. They have Calvin Ridley can be that number 1 receiver. Calvin Ridley can be that number 1 receiver. He's just not a jump ball. He's not a tall receiver. He's a number 1 guy, but he's more of a speedy guy. It's more of a deep threat by outspeeding the cornerbacks, kind of. Yeah, Seattle. Back to Seattle. Going Joey Porter Jr. Gives you that very good cornerback across from Tariq Woolen. If you're Seattle, you have basically your cornerback room set. I mean, you have Joey Porter Jr. on one side, you have Tariq Woolen on one side, and you also have Kobe Bryant, who's also been pretty good in the slot. I mean, those are 3 very good guys, and your cornerback room would be set. I mean, your defense is looking a lot better if this is the draft that you have as Seattle. Tennessee, I think it's pretty obvious here. I'm going to go Jordan Addison. I think Tennessee needs more help on offense. You can't have Derrick Henry be the only, like right now, Treylon Burks has been decent, but you need another receiver along with Robert Woods. Hasn't been it. They can cut him, I believe, and save some money. So then you cut him, you get Jordan Addison, who's kind of like a younger version of him, but also a little bit quicker even too. But you get Jordan Addison, you get that guy who can be alongside Treylon Burks and Derrick Henry on that offense, who can be your target. If Malik Willis is your QB of the future, he can be your guy. New England, I'm gonna go with. I did this yesterday in a draft that I didn't end up posting and I was gonna do, but I'm gonna go Michael Mayer. This offseason, I believe Hunter Henry is gone, so you get Michael Mayer. You get a guy who can be like a Gronk, maybe even better, because he's a very good run blocker, but he's also a very good receiver. And I mean, I would love for him to go to either Jacksonville or Carolina. And I feel like this is a solid pick for them. I mean, you get him, you get that tight end of the future. He can be your guy. He can come in and be a blocking tight end, but also a receiving tight end. Then you also don't have to spend so much money on Hunter Henry again. Jonnu Smith, I'm not sure if he's gone after this year or not, But same thing there. You don't have to re-sign either of them. I'm surprised that offseason too that they even signed both those really good tight ends. I mean, it really did surprise me. And now on to New York. The Jets. I'm going to go Paris Johnson. They need that guy who can be... Paris Johnson can come in and be a solid player. He's another versatile offensive lineman for them. He can come in and be... He can be a tackle if you need him to. You can put him on the inside if you want to move Elijah Vera Tucker outside. You can have him inside and then move Elijah Vera Tucker out. He gives you that guy who's going to be very solid for you. And I think it's a good pick, a good pickup for the New York Jets. Now Pittsburgh here. I'm gonna go Brian Brzee. I think they still really need O-line help. That's a for sure thing for Pittsburgh. They still need O-line help. But I think Brian Brzee gets you that guy who can be your inside D lineman of the future. I've said that a lot about a lot of different players here, but that's what the draft is. Players either that can help you right away, but are also very much for the future as well. But Brian Brzee gives you a guy who can be a guy. He can produce for you right away alongside Cameron Hayward. He can rush the passer. He can stop the run. I think he's more of a pass rush interior D lineman, but he can also be a run stuffer as well a little bit. Green Bay, I think here you got to go. They have their receivers are actually playing very well. I mean, you do have some very good receivers in Christian Watson, Romeo Doubs, and also still Allen Lazard. And I think you can even add more with Jackson Smith-Njigba. You can get a younger guy, Broderick Jones, on the O-line. And I'm going to go Jackson Smith-Njigba because he gives you that guy who can be your deep threat. He can be a slot guy. He can do a lot of different things. And if Romeo Doubs if he's not actually as good as he has been, Jackson Smith-Njigba can be that third guy. Then if you re-sign Allen Lazard, you can have Allen Lazard and Christian Watson, and then in the slot, Jackson Smith-Njigba. And you have your three receivers for Aaron Rodgers, however much longer you have him for. Now, Detroit again. Detroit, I also don't see going QB with that first pick. I think you got to go defense if you're Detroit, and I think you got to go maybe defense with the first two picks. I mean, Kelee Ringo, you get that other cornerback out there with Jeff Okudah, and Jared Verse. Jared Verse is a solid guy, and I'm going to go Jared Verse. I was tempted to go Anthony Richardson then, but I ended up deciding to go Jared Verse because he's a guy who can be a very good, versatile guy for you on that. He can be that other edge rusher across from Aiden Hutchinson, and you're set on defense for quite a bit of things. As long as they're not busts, you get your guys. Jacksonville here is a tough pick because they do have... I mean, Cam Smith would be a very good pickup. Broderick Jones, I feel like, would be too. I'm in a server on Discord where it's a YouTuber named Hail Mary Sports. If some of you do watch mock drafts a lot, he's a guy who I kind of watch a little bit, and I joined that because I want to join that community. It's an awesome community. They just did a fan mock draft today, and I did see somebody take O'Cyrus Torrence. Now, I wouldn't take him this high. I know that that draft was more of a no trades mock draft, and I think here's a place where you could see Jacksonville trade down. Cam Smith, I could see them taking. He would give you that guy across from Tyson Campbell, or you can even move him inside or move Darius Williams back inside. But Darius Williams has been playing very good, and that's why it's tempting to also maybe trade down and then take maybe Broderick Jones if he's not taken, Brian Branch as well, and then O'Cyrus Torrence, and then obviously another inside O lineman who's very good is Andrew Voorhees. who's another very good player that they could trade down and take. Maybe it's still a little bit too early and you could get him in the second round, but I think here, if I'm the Jags, I'm going to trade down to, I would say about maybe, I'm going to go with the Chargers. I'm going to trade down with the Chargers here. I'm going to do that. I'm going to take their third round pick and then maybe a next year sixth rounder. Well, maybe actually. Well, I'm gonna. No. That's not what I meant to do. I didn't expect it to be that scrolled up. But I'm gonna do a swap with the first and then a third round pick, and I think that should be good. It's later, so that's why there's not a second round pick getting swapped there. But I think you do that after Jacksonville trade down. Now when it comes to the Chargers, I'm gonna go Broderick Jones, a guy who I would have maybe gone with Jacksonville, but I'm gonna go with the Chargers. With the Chargers, I think you trade up, you get that guy who can be your other tackle cross from Rashawn Slater. So then your O-line is looking very good. Very young, but also very good. They also have a guy who I forget his name, but he's been playing very well in the absence of Rashawn Slater after he got injured in week 2 against the Jags. But he gives you a guy who can be very solid. He can most likely be a very good player across from Rashawn Slater for a long time. Now Tampa Bay, I definitely could see going Cam Smith. They need another guy, I feel like, outside. But I'm going to go Anthony Richardson. This is where he goes. I think it's a good choice. If Tom Brady, it seems like, is going to play again. Tom Brady, I don't know where he's going to sign. But if he does come back to Tampa Bay, I mean, that's perfect because Anthony Richardson can sit right behind him. Anthony Richardson can sit for either a year or 2, depending on how much longer Tom Brady plays. Or if you want to sit him behind another quarterback, another bridge one, after Tom Brady does actually retire, if after next year he actually does retire, which, who knows, he could be playing until he's 50 at this rate. But yeah, next year, Washington, I'm going to go Cam Smith. I think he's a very good pickup here for the Washington Commanders. You just miss out on that QB, but you don't necessarily need that QB because they've actually, Carson Wentz and Taylor Heinicke have been actually doing very well for them. So I think here that you go Cam Smith, you get that cornerback, and he goes alongside, I believe his name is, I think they have Kendall Fuller. Actually, let me check. Washington, Commanders. Let's see. Not Gear. Let me look. Kendall Fuller. Okay, yeah, he is. So Kendall Fuller, yep. Kendall Fuller is the guy. He gives you a guy alongside Kendall Fuller, who I believe is more of a interior guy, but he gives you that guy who can be a lockdown outside corner, who would pair up very good with Cam Smith and Kendall Fuller. They will pair up very well. Now the Giants, I'm gonna go Trenton Simpson. Trenton Simpson, a very good player. I'm a Clemson fan, as some of you might know, and I'm obviously going to be a little bit higher on him because I'm a Clemson guy, but I'm not also being biased because he is a very good middle linebacker. They did release Blake Martinez this year, so he would be a very good guy to replace Blake Martinez and possibly be a long-term solution there. Now back to Jacksonville. I think this is a better range for Jacksonville to go Brian Branch. Brian Branch, I feel, is more not just a safety, but he can also be a guy who can come in and be a slot cornerback as well, and that's why I traded back, because Cam Smith's more an outside guy, and Darius Williams has been playing very well because he's back to the right cornerback position. No longer a slot cornerback. He is more of a outside cornerback. Brian Branch can come in. He can be a very versatile guy. You can play him at the safety, but you can also play him at the slot corner a lot. Now here's more of a place where I would go O'Cyrus Torrence, and Clark Phillips as well is a very solid cornerback who I would say this is a good spot for him to go. But I think it's more between Brian Branch and O'Cyrus Torrence here. And I think it's hard for me to decide, but I think I'm going to go it's actually kind of tricky because O'Cyrus Torrence would give you a guy who you can put inside. I'm going to go Brian Branch. I think maybe with Jacksonville you could trade up. You could see them trade up again this year and go a O'Cyrus Torrence, but more in the second round, because O'Cyrus Torrence, I'm guessing in this mock draft for me personally is going to drop. And then I can see you also maybe trading up and getting Anton Harrison, as long as I don't take him with somebody else here. But I'm going to go Isaiah Foskey here. I think that's a good pickup for Baltimore. Gets you that edge rusher across from, I don't know his name off the top of my head, but he's from Penn State. I'm also a Penn State fan, but I can't remember his name. Jason Owe. But that's not, Ofe Obada or whatever. Obada. I think I'm messing up his name. F.A. Obada. Oh, wait, no. F.A. Obada is... No, that's not it. It's, Jason Owe. Jeez, misclick. Odafe Owe. That's what it is. Odafe Owe. He gives you that guy who's another edge rusher across from... Owe, and yeah, he's another really good rusher. I know that Odafe Owe has played very well. Jason Owe, I'm gonna call him Jason Owe. Jason Owe because that's what he was called in before he got drafted, and he still kind of is. But Jason Owe is a very good player, and he gives you that guy across from him. And Isaiah Foskey, a very good speed rusher across from him, and he's a very good speed rusher. Now on to the Denver Broncos. With Denver, I think it's a challenge because I do think some of these marked players are actually very good players for them. But I think here I'm going to go... I think they are very good possible picks here. I'm going to go B.J. Ojulari. I think B.J. Ojulari is a very good player. He can come in, be that speed rusher. He can be a very good player for you right away at Denver. He's probably more of a developmental guy as well, but I think he's a very good player for you to pick up if you're Denver. Dallas, I think I'm going to go Clark Phillips. You need that guy alongside Trayvon Diggs. You don't have him for sure. So you go out and get Clark Phillips, who can be, or even Devon Witherspoon, who I was also thinking about going with, but I decided to go Clark Phillips. I think that no matter what, you get a solid player, and you get that guy who can be alongside Trayvon Diggs, because that's what you need. Right now in that secondary, you almost only have Trayvon Diggs, specifically. So then you get Clark Phillips III. And you get another guy. Cincinnati here, I think, is a good spot of going a possible O'Cyrus Torrence or a Anton Harrison. And I think here is a good spot to go. I think I'm gonna go Anton Harrison because they need that tackle. I don't believe La'el Collins is the future there. Anton Harrison gives you that guy who can go out there and help you on the offensive line. They still need O-line help, which is surprising, especially with what they did last year. But their O-line is definitely improved. But you get Anton Harrison, a very good player, and you get that other tackle across from Jonah Williams. Or even, to replace Jonah Williams. I think Jonah Williams is probably their their guy at left tackle, for now at least. Kansas City. Kansas City, I think, is a good spot to go. Bijan Robinson. Bijan Robinson, very good player, very good running back. Best running back in this class, that's for sure. I feel like he could go even earlier than pick 28. I just think it's kind of like a thing where there's the teams that were ahead of the Chiefs that could have picked him had other needs. So Bijan Robinson, I think if Isaiah Pacheco isn't the answer there, which I'm not 100% sure if he is still, you at least get Bijan Robinson, who can for sure probably most likely be that guy of the future at running back for Kansas City and the present. Minnesota definitely needs a guy like Devon Witherspoon. Minnesota, after the game today, I don't think it was necessarily their fault. They just couldn't get JJ going, and a lot of it just didn't work out in the favor of the Vikings. I still think they're better than the Packers. I mean, obviously they beat the Packers earlier this year, and but Devon Witherspoon gives you that guy who can be your cornerback out there right away, especially if you don't re-sign Patrick Peterson. You can have a decent trio with Witherspoon, Andrew Booth, and along with Cameron Dantzler, because I know Cameron Dantzler has actually been pretty decent this year, but Devon Witherspoon can be that number one guy of the future for you. I think it's obvious where I'm going to go here for Buffalo. I think it's very tempting to go Antonio Johnson and also Jahmyr Gibbs, but I think here I'm going to go Antonio Johnson. I think that's a good spot for Antonio Johnson. Right now, I mean, Micah Hyde is still really good for Buffalo. They also still have you still also have Poyer across from him. I believe both of them have been injured this year, but Micah Hyde you're probably going to still have. But Antonio Johnson gets you a guy who can be there. I think they're both getting up there in age, Poyer and Micah Hyde. So you get Antonio Johnson, can be a versatile guy, could be very good on that defense. Jahmyr Gibbs was very tempting because he would be very scary on this offense. Now, Philadelphia, another spot where I could go Jahmyr Gibbs. It's tempting. And I think here I am going to go Jahmyr Gibbs for this mock draft. Jahmyr Gibbs, I would love to see if Carolina doesn't bring back D'Onta Foreman. I think Jahmyr Gibbs would be if he's there, or if you trade up a little bit and get him more, if he drops to you, I would say though, he's a very good pickup for Carolina, and he would be very scary in that offense. Be a good target, a good dump off, and a good running back to have alongside C.J. Stroud. Now the final pick of this round is the Houston Texans, and I think here I'm gonna go Nolan Smith. Gives you that versatile guy. He's a very good edge rusher. I would love Carolina to get him in the second round, which I could see him dropping to Carolina at pick number 39, I think is where they pick in the draft. Their first pick? No, it's like, I don't know where it is exactly, but they have a higher up pick that I could see him dropping there and them taking him. But yeah, thank you guys all so much for watching this mock draft. Sorry about this. This is going to be weird in the YouTube video, but this is a stream, so I'm still learning the editing stuff. One of my New Year's revolutions is to try to be better at uploading. I really want to make this a career in the future, maybe. So it would be much appreciated if you guys liked and subscribed to this channel. Thank you guys all so much for watching, and I'll see you guys on the next mock draft or stream or video.